So, as we all know, Michael Jordan retired from basketball right before the 1993 NBA season. He did this because of the tragic loss of his father, who loved baseball, and Michael Jordan also loved baseball as well. So, for these 2 years after his father's death, Jordan played minor league baseball for the Red Sox.
Jordan then came out of retirement to join the Bulls for the 1995 through 1996 season. This begs the question, though, what would have happened if Jordan didn't retire? Would they have won the chip in those 2 years that he was gone?
So when you think about the 2 years when Michael Jordan left the Chicago Bulls, this area for the Chicago Bulls was obviously a sad time because, they lost the best player in the league at that point and were pretty mediocre for those 2 years. But the one thing that they did have was Scottie Pippen. Now, a lot of people actually forget this, and I'm not going to lie, I forgot too. But Scottie Pippen was third in MVP votes in 1993-94, the season that Jordan left. So this obviously is a big problem because if Jordan does not retire, this kind of stutters Scottie Pippen's development, right, Ryan?
Yeah, for sure. And the Jordan-Pippen duo still would have happened, but would it have been the same is the question. Because Scottie took those 2 years that Michael Jordan was gone to really develop into the player that we knew him as in their second three-peat. I'm sure Scottie still would have developed well and everything, but probably just not the exact same person. If Jordan stayed and everything, would other superstars like Karl Malone, Stockton, Sean Kemp, and Gary Payton, Patrick Ewing even, get absolutely thrown in the dust. We wouldn't even know who they were today if it wasn't for what happened in those 2 seasons,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jordan was already so dominant in those years. Even with his 2-year retirement, we still forget about how great guys like Karl Malone, John Stockton, as you said, even the Phoenix Suns from that era with Tom Chambers, Kevin Johnson. Yeah, they would have definitely been even more just overshadowed by Jordan's dominance more than they already are.
Yeah, I agree on that. We also can't forget about the Houston Rockets in the 94-95 season. They went back-to-back and won the chips while Jordan was gone. But those 2 years were all of Scottie's developmental years, without Jordan there, I feel like they still would have lost, But they were also a really good Rockets team when they won the chips there, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Another thing to think about here is Dennis Rodman. He was a very big piece to their second three-peat. That was 96-98, that three-peat. Dennis Rodman was a big part of that. And if we're looking at the fact that Jordan doesn't retire, maybe they never get Dennis Rodman. I mean, that three-peat that they had, it could have definitely been, just non-existent.
Yeah, because Rodman was their Malone stopper in the last few seasons together,
Yeah, that big three, the chemistry was just so good. The roster, wasn't the best thing, but this is the 1990s. Modern NBA is all about depth. You look at the Boston Celtics, you look at Dallas Mavericks, but back in the 90s, yeah, depth definitely wasn't that big of a deal. It was you had Michael Jordan, and he was just a bigger cheat code, back then than even Curry was in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
We can even take this a step further and think about guys like Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr is mostly known for his coaching career, but he was also a very important member of the Chicago Bulls. As a player, he won a bunch of championships, and he learned a lot from the Chicago Bulls team. And this could, if Jordan didn't retire and he, played all throughout the 90s, they might not have gotten Steve Kerr on the Bulls roster. They might have been too good to get him, or I don't know how contracts worked too much back then. But then you think about, so where would Steve Kerr be today? He's Team USA's coach. Would he have developed into that great of a coach if he didn't join the Bulls? But the Warriors dynasty, right? Does that happen if Kerr's not the coach? It definitely just has this butterfly effect throughout the league. And the other thing we do need to talk about too is contracts. So back in the 90s, you had a lot of players, including Pippen, who were signed to very cheap, but 5+ years or whatever. That's why Pippen was so underpaid for his entire career. But I don't necessarily remember if Pippen signed an extension with the Bulls. I know Jordan signed a few or whatever, but Pippen and Jordan, if that break doesn't happen in 94 and 95? Do they maybe, get a little bit just kind of at each other? And does it cause maybe Jordan to leave sooner? Does it cause Pippen to leave? If Pippen leaves, is Jordan just as successful?
Yeah,
Questions.
definitely.
So all in all, it's a lot to take in. I mean, whenever you think about what if scenarios as big as the best player in the league not retiring for the first time, the butterfly effects can be massive. So you can take a lot into account. We can assume that the Bulls probably would have been just as dominant, if not even more dominant, as they were in real life if Jordan doesn't retire for the first time.
Yeah.
But, these are just really questions that we can't answer. It's like, if Jordan doesn't retire for the first time, that has ripple effects throughout the league that could have affected the Bulls. So, this was our thoughts.
Yeah, this was all opinion based, but guys, just let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.